Are you feeling stuck in your calisthenics progress? You feel like you train hard, but you're seeing minimal results, or you're making some progress, but compared to the people you see online, it just feels incredibly slow. What it comes down to is super simple program errors, and I see it so often with so many beginners who come through. They just make very simple errors with their program, and it completely compromises their strength gains. And while the training may help from the very initial phase when they first get into it, they might get some newbie gains in the first few weeks. It then starts to plateau because they're not optimizing building strength and building skill with calisthenics. And this is exactly what happened to me 5 years ago during COVID. I came from a weight training background. I did have a bit of training history. I saw progress at the start, and then it plateaued because I was just doing super simple errors. And me looking back now, obviously I'm well aware of what the errors are, hence why I'm making this video, and hence why I don't want you doing the same thing. So all you have to do is implement these 5 strategies into your training right now, and I promise your strength will absolutely skyrocket. Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to touch on is exercise selection, and you need to be super smart with how many exercises you're implementing into your training, especially if you are training a little bit more frequently. Maybe you're doing 4, 5, even 6 days a week. If you're also doing 8 exercises per session, how do you expect to recover from that? You're almost going to get absolutely nothing out of each exercise, especially the ones later in the session. You want to treat each exercise and each set with purpose and with intent, and it's in there for a reason. So you're putting in as much intensity and effort into each of those exercises. The sweet spot is about that 4 to 6 exercise range without a doubt. So this leads me to the second point, and that's training frequency. What I see sometimes with beginners is they spend one session training on one skill, another session training on another skill, and another session training on another skill. And that training frequency is just way too low to actually build strength. Training frequency is such an easy implementation that you can do to just skyrocket your strength. So what you need to be doing is training key exercises and key skills 2, 3, even 4 days a week. So instead of dedicating one session per skill, you can break up that training volume and spread it across the week and add in multiple skills on multiple different days. That is without a doubt the best way to go about it. And back to the other point, it doesn't mean you're training 6 different skills in one day. You'll be training maybe 2 to 3 different skills with different exercises. The third most common error, and I think everyone who comes from a gym training background or they just do classes, I think everyone gets this wrong, and that's supersets, drop sets, and circuits. And while these do serve a purpose if you are under time constraints or you're in a class, you need to smash out as much as you can in 45 minutes. For those of you who do have the good hour and a half or 2 hours to train, or even 1 hour to train, you should not be doing supersets, or you should be using it as a last resort. Supersets, drop sets, and circuits, they don't allow for enough rest, and you're just going to be under so much fatigue, so you're not going to actually build much strength because your performance is compromised. Building strength, we want to be as fresh as we can, as frequently as we can. And the best way to do that is to actually be fresh for each set. And if you're doing supersets, drop sets, circuits, all these different shit thrown together, you're not going to be very fresh. Your performance is going to be shit. So you're just not going to be building that strength that we want. If you do enjoy supersets and drop sets because you like the pump and whatever, do it toward the end of a session for less strength focused exercises. Do not be doing it at the start of the session. It's going to completely compromise the rest of the session. You're going to be under too much fatigue. And what I do recommend for supersets is supersetting opposing exercises. So doing a push with a pull rather than doing a push with a push, because that second push exercise is just going to be completely stuffed. So combining push and pull can be a good way to kind of mitigate the fatiguing effects of supersets, but it's still not as optimal as completely doing it separate as well. So best case scenario is just doing normal sets for all of your exercises. And this leads me to the fourth point, which is rest time. So this is touching on the same concept, but we want to be as fresh as we possibly can. So if you're only resting 1 minute, even 2 minutes between each exercise, how can you expect to get the absolute most out of each set? You want to be resting at the least 3 minutes. If you can push 4 minutes, even 5 minutes for your first exercise or your first 2 exercises that are extremely difficult, that's actually better off as well. And yes, it may not be practical, but just rest as much as you practically can for that session and however long you can actually spend training. And I promise your strength will skyrocket from doing that. And this is probably the most common error that I've actually seen, is without a doubt rest times, for sure. And the last tip, I'll offer a bonus one at the end of the video, but this is building the foundations. And yes, we hear this all the time, but I think a lot of people may introduce skills that a little bit too early, and they do get stagnant results because they don't have that foundation level of conditioning that they've built with, obviously, sometimes it can be weight training. So you can definitely build foundations with weight training, but obviously with pull-ups, chest dips, push-ups, pike push-ups. So definitely continue focusing on them. Try to get them to 10, 15 plus reps, and then start to introduce some harder variations of those, which can include elevated pike push-ups, side-to-side pull-ups, and all the rest of that, or even weighted calisthenics as well. So building that overall level of foundation and strength with those key exercises and weighted calisthenics or even weight training will go a long way to helping you with skills once you are ready to actually implement them fully. And I'm not saying that you can't train skills while you're building the foundation. You should just have the foundation exercises at the start of your sessions, and then you can introduce those skills later, but make those foundations your priority. So incredibly simple video, but I promise implementing those 5 strategies will completely skyrocket your strength. Rest times, not throwing around stupid supersets, optimizing your rest time, not doing all these supersets, drop sets, circuits just to fatigue yourself, training key exercises and skills multiple times a week, not doing so many different exercises in one session, being smart with like 4 to 5 key exercises, and obviously making sure you still prioritize building that foundation in those earlier stages. Lastly, if you want the last bit of piece of advice that will completely change your training level and ensure that you get to that advanced level, and that is consistency. At the end of the day, as long as you're consistent with the training and you do implement these 5 things, your strength will absolutely skyrocket, and I promise you'll be absolutely addicted to calisthenics and at my level or well beyond my level in half the time that it took me as well. And if you want to make sure you're getting the most out of your training as well, jump in my free calisthenics communities, masterclasses, coaching support, and obviously all the community access to get amongst everyone else who are in the exact same boat as you. They may be weaker, they may be stronger, but you can get around everyone and share your progress. Like, subscribe, all the rest of it. Hope that helps.